Warm welcome today. Super excited to have you here with us. So just as a brief introduction, Aparna is the Chief Customer Officer for the Verizon Consumer Group, one of the largest wireless operators in the United States. She is also responsible, among many things, for executing the company's digital response to the COVID-19 crisis. Aparna has been awarded several national awards and has multiple wireless technology patents, and is a perfect speaker for the TiE Women series, as she has been passionate about mentoring and coaching women and youth. Last but not the least, she's super mom to 2 teenage boys. We got to recognize our kids.
Totally. Thank you for calling that out.
Yes, absolutely. I know they must be hearing this somewhere in the background. So
I doubt it, but I'll make sure they do at some point.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Aparna, we met many years ago when you were a keynote at TiE, Telecom Industry Association, and I was impressed with your knowledge of networks. And as you know, we are only few women in networks. And coincidentally, I was your host even then as a TiE board member. But I feel our paths have definitely crossed before that. In 1996, of course, we're dating each other. Us a little bit. In 1996, when you worked for Lucent, that was the year I started my company Avion, and we were deploying the 5ESS switch globally for Lucent at that time. And then Lucent was also my first customer. And when you joined Motorola, Avion was working there supporting the voice over IP for Comcast and Wi-Fi deployments for Earthlink.
Nice.
And so I'm sure we met somewhere, I don't know where. But fast forward, of course, we're honored to be a Verizon partner today. So all in all, glad to have this friendship and thankful to have this opportunity to host you again as part of the TiE Women series. So warm welcome once again.
Thank you, Kanchana. And thank you. I relish the relationship we've built over the past so many years. And I was just saying, and I really mean it, I am truly inspired by everything you do. So, and that's what it should be about, girls. Thank you for joining today. It's really about us lifting each other up and learning from each other. So hopefully I'm able to partake in that conversation today with all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Aparna. There are a lot of us here who are inspired with the many things you do, including me, and your journey from being a technical expert to the C-suite, which is a dream for many girls and young boys as well. You know, we go out, get our degrees, and you know, this is what we dream of, is getting to the C-suite. So congratulations on all your success. And so tell us about your journey. I mean, we'd love to get the personal and the professional angle.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I hail from India. I've done a lot in terms of just moving around India. I did a lot of schooling in Africa. Being a techie at heart and someone who loves analytics, I have always been close to technology. I started in engineering. And along the way, I decided I happened to start in wireless and loved it. And I decided that that was the area. And I got the growing years of wireless as I was building my career. So I decided to stick around in wireless. But what I did do is I made sure, and a lot of it was just opportunities that showed up, and a lot of it was me proactively going after and seeking things out. I made sure that I got a good faceted career across technology and development, hardcore engineering, moving into other things, running businesses small and big, doing operations, doing strategy, doing products. And it's culminated in this role today where I'm literally stretching myself and learning so much of new stuff while I'm bringing a lot to the table, I think. My goal has always been, and I really stick by that, is not to chase success, but really chase excellence, and success has followed. And that would be one thing, if I can leave you with, it would be just go after something you have a deep passion for, push yourself, be bold, bring your identity, be able to assimilate, learn, and always have a sort of that lingering ask in your mind, is this place better because I'm here? Did I improve something? Did I partake in that growth of this place? And at the same time, am I growing while I'm doing that? And I think that's really important. And that's what my quest has been, through all of that, I have been a big proponent of managing with knowledge. I do believe knowledge is the best equalizer, especially for us women. I think it's very important that we know our context, we know our content, and it gives us the voice at the table. That's how I have found my voice at the table. And I encourage every girl, every woman to find their voice, and be humble in constantly seeking out and learning. And that's been my journey. And I've been lucky to get opportunities, take some when my personal situations allowed me to, and not look back, just stumble my way in some cases or grow my way in many, to where I am today. So happy to have any further conversations, or if you have any questions on any part of that.
So yes, I read your letter to your younger self, which was of course phenomenal. And I read the quote over there, knowledge is the best equalizer. So tell us more. Is that education? I mean, what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think as you're growing your career, initially, there's a lot about just knowing your stuff, being the expert. And you don't always get to be the expert on day one, but it's about the quest and the zest to be learning and being open. I think over time, as you build your career and you become a part of a bigger team, and then over time lead these teams, what becomes important is to surround yourself with people who are knowledgeable, surround yourself with people who will give you to you as it is. But there's a big piece that I learned along the way, especially as a techie, as someone who's got an engineering background. I always would work in a black and white. And for me, knowledge was all about sort of making sure I knew my bits and bytes, right? As you grow and as you start building your career with people, thousands of people that you've got to lead and make sure that they are seeing the purpose and winning with you. The one thing I learned, and I say it a little tongue in cheek, but it really means a lot to me. I have learned that there's the saying which says, knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad. And that's the difference I had to essentially learn, that you have to work in understanding and gaining the insights from that knowledge, from that data, to be able to be wise in the decisions, to be able to connect the dots, get the perspective, and lead the way. And not always will you have a complete picture of everything you have. You've got to go with your gumption, go with your guts, and make decisions, but do it in a way where you are able to start working in that gray.
That's awesome. No, thank you. So, that we have a mix of the audience here. As you know, we have a big entrepreneurial program. We're all working towards in Dubai. So we have a global audience here, and a lot of them who have had corporate jobs with me and then became entrepreneurs. If you look at us, I've been an entrepreneur 20 some years. You've gone the corporate route. So, there's a constant debate, right? I know you have talked about innovation in the workplace. There's a lot of talk about that. So tell us a little bit more about, the young folks that have come out of corporate and come out of universities, thinking, should I take the entrepreneurial route, intrapreneurial route? What is your perspective?
Perfect. Firstly, congratulations to each and every one of you for participating in this thing. I mean, it's a huge step for you to come up with an idea and present it and really learn something from it and learn from each other. So congratulations. Yes. I have, as you pointed out, Kanchan, I've always been on the other side of the fence in a big corporation. I was with, as you called out, Bell Labs, Lucent, and then of course Motorola, and now I'm here in Verizon. I just love being a part of something so much bigger than me. But just right in my house, I have my husband. He quit while he was rearing and roaring in his career, and he went down the entrepreneurial route. So I see the yin and yang, and I see the goods and the not so goods on both sides. But I think what I will leave you with is, again, unless you have an idea and you're absolutely passionate about taking that to fruition, if you're going with the spirit of what an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur is, which is really wanting to think bold and go where no one else has gone before, and being able to tie that purpose into something big that you bring a team along with. You innovate, you push yourself to the limits, you fall down, you become resilient, you learn, you fall forward, as I call it, and always move. You can do that in the confines of a big organization. We are a 140,000 people company. And I will tell you, I've had, and I'll give you a few examples of places where I feel like I've been able to take that entrepreneurial spirit and really build something. In fact, when I joined Verizon a little over a decade ago, I was given this mandate of starting a new business called Open Development. And it was all about going and opening up our doors, Verizon's doors, to customers, businesses that would come in and work with us on their brand rather than the big companies, the OEMs that we worked with at that point. And that was the start of, it was then called machine to machine, but IoT today. And it's interesting because I was just given a mandate. I didn't have a team. I had to go figure out how much budget I needed, what I needed to do, go really far, and think boldly, think about the vision, and take then a little team that we grew then into a $1 billion business over the past decade in IoT. So I love doing that. The good news was I had the framework and the foundation and sort of the cushioning that a big organization gives you. And you can do the same outside on the other side too. So it really is about making sure that we are constantly learning and pushing ourselves. I like to be in a place always where I am at the edge. One more step and I'm really going to fall down, and you've got that rush in you to sort of really go and achieve something that no one else has. And you can do that within the confines, like I said, of a big corporation or on your own. Pick your path, but never lose the ability to think boldly and go where no one else has gone.
Fantastic. Yes, where no one else has gone. So we have more uncharted territories to explore.
Absolutely. Always.
Wonderful. So now coming to your favorite subject, customer experience. So customer experience now has become the new basis for competition. We have evolved from measuring customer satisfaction, customer success, to customer experience today. For example, there are many product companies, usually entrepreneurial product companies, that are engineering product focused. Why is customer experience important to them? Is this the new aha moment?
Yeah. Look, I don't believe any company, any corporation, big or small, your own startup or a big company like ours, starts off thinking that they're not going to be centric to the customer, right? Every company's purpose has to tie to a need you're trying to solve for the customer. There's no questions about that. I will speak to the sector I'm in, and I'm in the wireless sector, I'm in the mobility sector, in the connectivity sector. As you look at, especially in the US, we've hit maturity, right? We were looking at double-digit growths. Now they're in single digits, a modest couple of digits, 3, 4, and I'm talking about the overall growth in the industry here in the US from a consumer perspective, right? Now you've got to start thinking about, okay, so where do I bring in differentiation? I'm already doing well with the customer. Customers are sticking with me, and we, at least at Verizon, we've got industry leading churn. But if things around you start getting normalized, so the network and the perception of the network or the other services and products start getting normalized, which is what happens in any mature sector, you've got to think about an area and a place where you can start looking different and being different. That's one thing which is key. The other piece is also, as growth gets a little more modest, you've got to think about efficiency. And it's a universal truth that if you do customer experience right, if you serve the customer right the first time, you're going to be a lot more efficient. You won't get those multiple calls afterwards to customer service, right? So it's a great balance there. There you can differentiate, bring what the customers may be expecting, and bring in operational efficiency. But you bring up a good question on why now and what is different. And there are two things in conjunction with maturity in several sectors that are speaking to this big sort of aha moment, as you called it, for customer experience. The one piece is around the move to digital. And what's happening there is expectations, and this is not just Gen Z, but every individual consumer, their expectations on what they deserve and what they want from the company they're working with, the retailer they're working with, has changed. They want things that are more effortless, more frictionless. They want to make sure that things are more contextualized to them and their needs and personalized to them and their needs, right? Also, what's happened, and this is a very interesting piece, for companies that haven't been digital native, and we're one of those, right? Because we are still in stores. There's the physical relationship. A lot of experiences were built on human touch. When you move to digital, you're fairly naked, right? All your processes and policies and experiences are out there to bear for that customer. So you really have to think about the customer experience in very different ways now. So that's a piece which has really improved. A lot of companies stand on customer experience. And I said there are two things. In conjunction with that, given the advent of AI and ML in ways where, it was just absolutely not possible even a decade ago or 5 years ago, you can do so much with customer and their data, taking billions of records and synthesizing it to why it matters and what matters to the customer, and then extending that into the right kinds of decisions and bringing them in front of that customer to surprise and delight them and make sure that they have that service that they deserve. So I think there's a good trifecta around the maturity, the customer and their expectations, and technology that's really resulting in this wave or the surge, especially in the digital age today.
Yeah, no, I think it's really it's a very evolving area, and it's different for startup companies, which most of us on the TiE side, we are having a lot of startup product companies, and so just to be able to make that connection and to be able to understand. So definitely great perspectives, and of course you're navigating it for a big organization, right?
So even us, I mean, we're learning so much about what the customer would want, doesn't want, and NPS is just one number, right? There's so much in terms of insights, and when you have hundreds of millions, so we've got over 130 million customers, so you've got hundreds of millions of interactions daily that are happening. There's so much data that you can glean and then make decisions. It's a very fascinating field, and so much that every company, I'm sure, is feeling like there's an opportunity that they can go uncover.
No, definitely. I think it's a great segue to our next question. We are flooded with questions for you, Aparna, even before the session started. So I hope we'll be able to cover most of it. So my partner Smita will take over in another 10 minutes. So we'll try to go over some of the questions we had as an organization. So companies are going through digital transformation, as you said, and most entrepreneurs are digital natives. And we may not be able to fully relate to how larger companies are going through the digital transformation. So what advice would you give us in terms of opportunities to explore, and how can we add value?
Yeah. One of the big revelations a lot of people are having, especially the digital natives, is just because a company is a technology company, it's the foundation is technology, doesn't mean that they've got all the tools that are embedded and using digital at the core. So there's a lot that's happening in terms of just taking a page out of the digital native companies and learning from it. And the pace of change has been phenomenal, just because a lot of work has already been done, right? So it's really sort of standing on the shoulders of the giants that came before you are standing by you. And what we're learning really as we are stepping into digital, not just digital as a solution for our customers, but digital at the core of every decision we make. What we're learning is the game has to be played at scale. So initially there was this overzealous thing around, look, let's go try this out. And you do see initial results. But if you don't scale it the right way, and what does scaling mean? For companies like us that have really, I mean, what do we pride on? We've got EBITDAs in 50% and above range. Like, it's unheard of in a lot of industries. Why is that possible? Because we've played the efficiency game. We are very good and operationally focused, but that comes with processes and systems and people that are set up a certain way. When you want to rewire for digital and you want to start using data and you want to make insights and you want to connect them into decisions, you have to make sure that you're taking into account these people, the processes, the policies and systems, and change everything. If not, you're going to get this very jumpy, well, you've got digital here, but not here, and you won't be able to do it at scale. The other piece is when we learned about digital, and everybody did, 5, 10, 15 years ago, it was all about yank and replace. So it was just literally take, lift and shift things from what we had in terms of a retail process and move it into digital. And that doesn't work. You have to make sure that it's tied to the purpose. And then most importantly, what the customer is looking for and how you can bring value to them. So everything that you do in digital has to be in the quest of improving the experience for the customer. And believe me, that does help with the efficiencies. So it's a way of rewiring what we're trying to do. And rather than run after digital, run after customer experience and use digital as a tool, not the end goal. And that's very important. And lastly, what we've learned is really needing to invent in technology. So being able to take an individual, and we are thick into this whole discussion around a digital 360, a DNA and picking all the DNAs for you as a consumer and tying it together, making sure that we've got the right kinds of systems for bringing in insights in big ways, making sure that we've got systems to make decisioning from a technology perspective and connecting the dots for Omni. And there's been a lot in terms of learning, but I think the progress we've made, and a lot of companies like us have made, has been phenomenal. AI is a piece which now starts really unleashing a lot of experiences. But more importantly, so when you talk about chatbots and things like that, that's all AI. But more importantly, from an operational perspective, thinking about how AI can be helping you with force to load, how you decide on your inventory management at a hyper local level, how you do performance management for your frontline reps through AI. So it's a huge amount of opportunities, and it's important that you do it at scale.
Wow. I myself have about 5 questions, so I'll just I'll move on to the next one. It's just phenomenal to learn this. I mean, I'm just learning as we go over here, so thank you. Sure. So no organization could have planned for the COVID-19 pandemic, right? During the pandemic, customers' needs and expectations have changed and continue to change. How are you and the organization sensing and adapting to this sudden pandemic?
Yeah, and I can answer that in so many levels. Me personally, as a leader, and sort of coming to terms with what's happening and the lack of control and resilience that you need, and the empathy that us women have, but somehow it gets sort of lost in the day-to-day that I had to sort of bring back into the relationship with people and my employees and everyone else around me. So there's a lot that I have done and learned to grow and accept through the pandemic. But really, we're in unprecedented times, and I'm hoping everybody who's on this call here has managed to plow through this, and hopefully there's a little bit of a good green set of green shoots in sight for us. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, the last 6 months have been a huge trial by fire for most organizations. And I think what we've got to do is make sure that we don't let any crisis go wasted without learning from it and growing from it. And I'll tell you what we're doing about it. First things first, it's about the employees, making sure they're good. We closed our stores. We moved overnight, literally in a matter of days, tens of thousands of reps into their homes without skipping a beat in terms of customer service, but also reskilled a lot of our employees so that they could work from home or take on other jobs as stores were closing temporarily. We've also made sure, in conjunction with the employees, we're thinking about the community, investing, taking care of locally as well as nationally, the big needs with investments in cash and kind. And then from our employee perspective, I think there were things that were more here and now, service continuity through economic hardships, making sure that people were getting the right kind of data and offers and discounts where needed. And through all of this, Kanachana, I'm really proud to say that Verizon was marked as #1 customer focused as well as employee focused employer here in the US by Forbes magazine. I think it was a national study, so that was really good. We're very proud of that, but it was really leading with empathy, which was very important. And as we think through beyond that, beyond the here and now, there is the here pull forward and here to stay. The here pull forward is all about digital and digital acceleration. And what we saw 3x more customers, new customers come into our digital channel, leverage a lot of our self-serve, able to use digital in ways where we were doing contactless and touchless and curbside, and we're still growing on that. As well, start their journeys in digital in ways where 3 in 4 of our customers are now starting in digital. So, and ready to take on new ways of connecting. We now have video chats with folks, and that's working really well. Of course, we've got telesales, we've got chat and chatbot, so lots of other channels. And through all of this, what we've done is we've made sure that we're learning and we are building the right kind of an omni-channel story for our customers. There are a few other things, though, that I'd like to highlight. There's one around the homebody economy and everybody wanting broadband and everybody wanting to think about education from home, healthcare, as well as e-commerce in ways that wasn't done before. So we're ensuring that as Verizon, we're providing the right kinds of services there. And the other interesting piece that has happened, which I'm sure all of you are seeing, is the definition of loyalty has changed. The value that customers found yesterday in things like a brand, which was just sort of out there doing things in sort of flashy ways, is no longer carrying the water. It's really about who's got the right kind of purpose. And I think we're seeing our consumers really rally behind that and making sure that they've got their interests aligned with companies that are also aligned in those spaces. So as we've taken a bold stand in Black Lives Matters around diversity, racial justice, we've seen our consumers and employees really rally behind that cry very heavily.
Wow, what a story. Well,
yeah, really good. And I think, as I said, we shouldn't let this go waste. So what I'm pushing
the
team,
learnings from this,
yeah, what I'm pushing the team to do really is to really use these moments to create the ecosystem. So we were forced into reinvention. Now let's just go beyond this. How are we looking at the work from home economy? What does that mean to be serving ourselves and the customers better? And how far can we go in terms of digital and pulling forward a lot of what we've already got in our pipeline to help support this need and this huge interest from our customers to connect with us in many different ways. So there's a lot of opportunity here, us as individuals, as well as the organization, to be doing things very differently going forward.
Fantastic. So Aparna, we have, like I said, a lot of questions. Even before the program today, we've been screening a lot of questions. So Smita Bagla is, like I said, my co-host for this event, and we have been doing a lot of great things, kind of working towards this big pitch event in Dubai. And so Smita is the managing director of Aligned Strategies, a product strategy firm for the Fortune 500 companies based out of the Bay Area. So Smita, if you have a very difficult task of screening the questions, and in the limited time we have with Aparna, take it forward.
Thank you, Aparna. Awesome insights. This is really exciting what you have defined about what Verizon is doing going forward in enhancing the customer experience. We have a lot of questions. People are just flooding it. Is especially with AI ML, they want to know is a couple of examples of how you enhanced it with AI ML. One of our readers, one of our attendees, Kanachana Raman, is asking that question.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got so many great stories here. So if you take chatbots, we are pulling out about 10 million calls every year through chatbots. That's a great story in AI in and of itself. But I'll give you an example, which is a small one, but it's close and near and dear to my heart, around RPA and using AI behind it. So we have an organization, 150 people organization, that was manually managing our credit checks and all the fallouts from that. In a matter of few months, we were able to use AI and RPA, go hand in hand, to pull a lot of that work, manual work, and automate it. We today have over 85% of that done in an automated fashion. And we have only 20 people manning that team. And I think we can go down to a smaller number. Now, that doesn't mean we are ready to let go of these people. The people that were left behind, we're retraining and pulling them into other places to help support stuff. Another example, Smita, is what we're doing on, I was telling you, we get millions of calls every month, right, on customer service. We're using AI right now to match why you may have called with the right individual, the right rep who could help solve your service question or your issue without a repeat call. And it's showing huge amount of improvements in handle time, repeat calls, as well as customer and rep satisfaction. So lots of examples where we're just merely scratching the surface right now.
Right. And you can also make an FAQ based on whatever the repeat call, so people don't have to call.
That's
in.
right. We
They
do
can
have
look at
Agent
it.
Assist that we're enhancing because of that. And we're pulling all of that data into our chatbots. Yep.
Absolutely. So remote, so that can like pretty much automate everything. That's
right.
awesome. One of the other, I have a couple more questions too, but one of the attendees asked is Verizon and AT&T that we were talking about. Like I work with AT&T, and they're two companies that capture the largest share of the mobile market in the US. How do you anticipate that your industry will get disrupted? And what would be your advice to the startups on how to stay ahead of the disruption?
Absolutely. So very, very optimistic in that space, but we're always making sure we are looking at all sorts of scenario planning on what the possibilities are. There is always the expectation that someone else, someone totally new, is going to enter the space, as well as you've got, your existing players. You've got T-Mobile and Sprint merged now, and the cable companies coming in. We've got a story that is tied into innovation in ways where we don't believe others have much of a chance with Verizon. We've got a 5G story that is really built right. And it's in the ultra wideband space, as well as in sort of what we have in terms of nationwide. And we're really looking to continue to extending our network advantage. Coupled with that is our story on customer experience. And we really do believe that there is a choice the customer is going to get with Verizon that is like no one else. Choice about the right kinds of products and services offered where and when you want them. And working those two together will give us and will continue to give us that advantage over and above everyone else.
Right. 5G is the wave of the future. I see 5G networks all around me where I sit here right now. And I'm in Southern California, not in the Bay Area. But so 5G is coming, and Verizon is one of the big leaders that we are seeing. So I had another question from a woman perspective. By the way, the earlier question was asked by Shelley, and I just want to give.
Hey, Shelley.
So from a women's perspective, I have another question. Like, there are a lot of women entrepreneurs who are really have the same quality that you explained about, like, that being a go-getter, having the knowledge, being there, being aware of it, that tomato is a fruit, but don't put it on the salad. I love that comment. And, but they get stuck in mid-management. How can they transcend into being the senior leader or an executive like yourself, right? Can you give us a little bit more insights into it? A lot of people would like to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, each one's situation is different. Sometimes the opportunity is just not there. The company is not growing. There may not be a need for what you bring in terms of your skill set, because there's ample out there. And that doesn't mean you are not any good. It just means that you need to get yourself out of that place into another place where you could be better valued, or there is growth which you can sort of continue to build on. What has helped me, honestly, it has everything to do with the construct that I was talking about, which is just go after excellence, be bold, and reinvent yourself. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself. I think what happens in the mid-management bucket is it's sort of that frozen middle, right? You've built a brand, And now you've got to, you sometimes become a slave of that brand, right? Like you want to
Got it.
make sure that you're not sort of tarnishing it. And many women, especially because we're always about winning, we're always about giving it our best, will shy away from taking on risks because we may fall, because our brand may get tarnished. And we do not take those chances. We do not. That's one piece which I would really recommend each one of you to say, well, look, you know what? Just because I didn't get this doesn't mean I'm not good. Build your confidence and go take on that next challenge yourself. The other piece ends up being more around your brand. So many a times, and I do believe men work on their brand and the halo that that creates almost naturally. Us women do not spend much time on that brand, the relationships, and making sure that you are able to tell your story. Now, a brand doesn't mean you go out there touting and thumping your chest. It means people need to know your story. People need to appreciate where you're coming from. I think those two things, and we can have a long conversation on this, right? But those two things are really important as I consider women in that middle bucket, is being
So what
bold.
you're saying is keep enhancing your brand. Don't get stuck with your brand and
That's right.
keep that voice on the table. Do not give it up. You may have gotten where you are with your voice on the table, but keep that with you so that nobody else takes it away from you. That's
Yeah.
excellent. That is something that can help both entrepreneurs and extrapreneurs, right? So that is another question I have is, this is from Ashish Goel, is how do you measure competitive advantage achieved through customer experience?
Yeah. So I think customer experience can be measured. It's a trailing indicator in many cases. So you take a little while, can be measured in how well you keep your customers. So the loyalty, how much they spend with you, how much new customers you get in terms of referral, and of course, how much time and energy you spend. So the cost piece of it. So those are all very good indicators, and those get translated into competitive effectiveness because you can be checking one over the other and learning from each other. I think we're learning of ways from a competitive perspective to understand even earlier indicators. So indicators in terms of not just NPS, but sort of our social mentions and how positive or favorable those are versus not, how much we are seeing in terms of detraction versus promotions that are happening that help us gauge competitively how we are doing. And then real time, you're looking at what share you are getting in terms of the pool that's out there in terms of customers. So there are ways, absolutely. Some of them, like I said, are sort of leading indicators from customer experience perspective, and they will eventually show up in your churn and such. And some that we're doing more on a regular basis to help ourselves.
So, Aparna, interestingly, you seem so you have gone through multiple different kinds of work. You've been in marketing, technology leader, now leading customer service, everything. So, from your lessons learned perspective, what do you think is your leadership style? This is something Kanchana had mentioned also.
Yeah. So
We would love to know more about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So again, my leadership style evolves, and it evolves because I'm assimilating and learning and seeing what's working and it's not working. And it's also evolving because different roles, different jobs, and as you grow, your leadership needs to change. Initially, it was a lot about me and my personal brand and Halo. Now it's a lot about the team and the team brand. But what's really key for me is the authenticity behind it. So making sure that my uniqueness in whatever I am shows, and I'm authentic. And I have realized, and I have always been that way, but I've realized that that is a magnet for people to come connect with you and be able to work with you in ways where they will follow in many cases and lead in many cases, and you can follow them even if they are in your organization. And that's a great place to be in. And I think it's really important that we do that. The thing that I am constantly urging people to do is make sure that you're flexible and resilient. So in my leadership style, you will see I don't care about levels and your bands or wherever you are. I care more about what you bring to the table, what I bring to the table, and bring in the humility to say, I don't know everything, you know a lot. Let's just go learn and do this together. And that has served me, and I'll continue doing it that way till I can. Most importantly, though, I think it's about respect and empathy. I always, always, always treat people with more respect than I deserve from them. It doesn't matter who they are, where they sit, and the empathy around, look, work is just one facet of you. You are a lot more than the work that defines you. Work should not define you. And I want to make sure that I'm known as a human first before my title or my role. And I want to make sure others are known that way too. So I think that's been a very natural style for me. And I would really profess everyone to just be authentic to yourself.
Great, wonderful. One last question that Manpreet Kaur is asking. How can you make a customer have a glimpse of great customer experience before you even meet them first time? Like just the...
Yeah. And this, I think, here's the thing. I think customer experience and brand go hand in hand. There's a halo. It's like that tide, right? Brand is a tide that sort of everything rises with it. So I do think everything that customer experience feeds into the brand is a way where people start seeing a lot of what you are. I also do think amplification of everything you're doing. So I talked a lot about the stuff. I'm sure if you go into Verizon or look at materials out there, you won't see a lot of this. So we need to do better in storytelling and making sure that people, even before they've come connected with us, know about the good stuff we are doing and why it is so important that they come connect with us. Because we are about a company that has purpose and that is driven by customer and their needs more than anything else.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Do you have time for one more question?
I do. I have time, so long as you all have time.
So one of the attendees is asking, are you using any other metrics measurements other than NPS CSAT?
I'm glad you asked me that question. We are. So the first thing I did as I joined this team, not joined, actually I created this team talking about entrepreneur how you can be doing things always and pushing yourself. Again, I got a piece of paper to say, here's the new organization, Aparna, go figure it out, right? So the first thing I did is to think about measurements. How do we measure ourselves? And NPS is something that is out there that we have goals to grow into. And by the way, since we started this organization, we've grown our NPS by 9, which is awesome. It's like you make an elephant dance, right? It's a big organization. So it's a great team effort and it's been a lot of fun. But one of the things that we did do is we connected all the different touch points the customer has with us. And we built this score for the customer. It's called the quality experience score. So depending on the kind of interaction you've had with us throughout your life, we rank it, and then we know how you are doing at a particular moment with us. And we're actually using it not just to indicate how we'll be doing on NPS, but we're using it in our AI models to decide how we should treat that customer. If your QES is low and you call customer service, I'm not bothering giving you a lot of digital solutions. I'm connecting you to a human with a lot of empathy so that they can solve for your needs right away. That's been very helpful for us, and we're still building it into newer and newer avenues.
Well, this is awesome because you're using AI to its limit and getting the exciting insights and giving very personalized service.
Yeah.
And that would be at the hands of because all customers are known. So that's at the hands of every customer service representative. That's Absolutely. An awesome metric. And wow, nice to know about that. So thank you, Aparna. We really enjoyed having you. And it's and if people have other questions, I think if it's okay with you, we would email you and get your answers on that, if that's
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. I'm absolutely willing to do anything. Good luck to everybody, and a very happy Diwali to anyone who celebrates it. I know my household, there's a lot of cooking going on in the evenings. So we're getting all our savories and sweets ready for Diwali this Saturday. But so wish everyone a beautiful holiday season.
Happy Diwali. Happy Diwali and thank you. Our next series, we're going to be dark next month. We won't have a call next month. We have our TiE Global Summit. And then We will restart in January, or maybe January we will take off, and February we will restart our series. But thank you, Aparna, for joining us. Thank you, Kanchana. Thank you, Aparna. Mishra, back to you now.
Thank you, Smita. Thanks, Kanchana, and thanks, Aparna, for such an insightful session. And I'm definitely going to take away when you started off by saying that it's knowledge to know that tomato is a fruit, but wisdom to not add it to a fruit salad. So that's definitely one of the key takeaways, apart from everything else that you talked about. And once again, I'd like to thank all the attendees, and we look forward to seeing you at the next session. We're already ahead of time, so we hope that we had more time with you, Aparna. But thank you so much for all your valuable insights.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Aparna.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Really nice meeting you. Thank you.